Hello, this is a walkthrough of dbKoda. dbKoda has four main regions on the screen. dbKoda has five main regions on the screen. Here we have the connection profiles. Here we have the tree, which is specific to an individual connection. Over here we have the editor, and here we have the output from the editor, and here we have the command line. Let's go through each of those in a bit more detail and we can see how it all fits together. So obviously dbKoda is a product to help you code and manage MongoDB databases. And so obviously you're going to need to connect to MongoDB databases, and here are the connections that you establish over here on the upper left. Now for each of these connections might have a different configuration, and as you click on them you'll see a different set of information is displayed in the tree. So, for instance, this is a replica set, and we can see that we're showing the members of the replica set. Here's P is the primary, secondary, there's an arbiter, and so forth. Always, though, we show the structure of the databases and collections that are contained within the database. This is a sharded cluster, and as you can see, we have a somewhat different structure there. Remember to preload the topology. And for a sharded cluster, we also show you the structure of the shards, the configuration servers, the Mongo S processes, as well as the usual database information. So let's set up our own, a new connection profile. I'm going to connect to a shard that's running on my laptop here, one that I've created with the mlaunch utility. So click the plus button. It's on my local host, as I said, and it's on port 37017. It doesn't have any authentication. That's naughty, but it's sandboxed on my own computer, so that's probably okay. If we connect, we see that we don't get a connection because I was wrong. It was 270.317. Connect, and there you see we've created a connection, and we can see the structure of the databases and so forth. As I said, there was no authentication on this one, so perhaps we should create a user. So let's start by seeing what we can do with the tree here. So for users, we can create a user and call it what we like. My name's Guy, so I'll call it Guy. My password is it's a secret. And I'm going to give myself root access on the admin database, which means I can do pretty much anything. I can add as many privileges against the various databases as I like. Click execute. And what you can see is happening, and this is what happens throughout the whole product, as we're doing these actions, it generates code in the editor. So whenever we do anything in this product, we're always showing you the code that's used, and you can reuse this code. You can save it to a script and run it, check it into GitHub, or do whatever you want with it. Let's click execute, and we can see that it's in the output window here. We can see we successfully added a user. So there are lots and lots of commands that we can run in that way against the tree, and I'm not going to show you all of them, but let's show another sort of favorite, if you like, which is to add an index. Let's look at this films collection. So let's, if we want to see what the structure is, we can right click here and do find attributes. These are the attributes that we found by sampling the scheme. You can see we can show embedded attributes as well. And let's say that we like to search for films using actor names, so we might create an index on actor names. So let's say create index. We can give the index a name, and then we can add actor's first name, ascending, actor's last name, also ascending. You can see we can create any sort of index here, and we have access to most of the other index attributes. And again, you can see that we're generating the code here over on the right. So let's create that index created, all good. So, but primarily this product is designed to assist with coding. The administrative options help you where they mean you don't have to sort of continuously look up the MongoDB documentation to remember the syntax for a command. But we expect that you spend a lot of time, that you are in fact, that most of the time we want to code, right? Or you can't do anything too sophisticated nowadays without writing your own code. So we're really here to support you doing that. So let's say we want to do an aggregate query. Now we have a little simple aggregate query builder here that we can use. That we can specify using this little builder. We can sort of say we want to find, let's say we just want to find all G-rated movies, and we're going to group by category, and we'll sort of like add up the length of the movies, sum sorted by that length, descending. Execute that. And there we have just what we wanted to see there. Now, that's all well and good. But if we want to do something a little bit more complicated with this aggregate, to do an unwind or something like that, we're going to need to do our own code here. So we can do that here by using the code editor. Now the code editor is very smart. It can do things like autocomplete, control space, and it can format. We can execute selected parts of the text or all of it. So this is pretty handy when doing an aggregate. We can sort of say, well, let's just execute it up to here. See what happens before we sort it. And so we have a very strong code editing capability here. We also have a command line here. Now this is essentially a way to access the MongoDB shell command line if you want to do, I don't know, let's say you want to change the database. Sort of like maybe get one row out of this. So there you see you've got these sort of two ways. You don't want to sort of interrupt your coding just to write a little snippet. You can just write it yourself. Now we can do some quite complicated things in here. In fact, we wrote a substantial amount of the product inside of this editor, so it's pretty full function. As I said, syntax highlighting, code folding, and autocomplete support. So that's it in a nutshell. We have a bunch of administrative and utility commands, but here against the tree we have a rich text editor with syntax highlighting, autocomplete, and so forth. And we have the command line, which lets us run one-off MongoDB commands. And together with the fact that you can connect to all of your MongoDB products in the one place, that it's open source and that it runs on all platforms, we think it's a pretty good adjunct, a pretty good complement, a pretty good tool in your tool chest.